Now, Amir Yaron is the governor of the Central Bank of Israel. The governor joins me now from Tel Aviv. I'm grateful to you, Governor, and I will say straight at the outset, of course, that you're not a political post as such, so we won't expect you to take us down the political road. However, on the economic front, I notice some of the actions that you've taken, most recently announcing that you're going to buy corporate bonds. And like other central bankers, I'm wondering, are you just about out of ammunition?
First of all, good evening to everyone, and thank you for having me, Richard. We are doing whatever we can as far as the Bank of Israel on the monetary side to support the economy in terms of, the first thing we did, obviously, was to make sure that financial markets function well. We did that decisively, very early on. And now we're working primarily on making sure credit is available as much as possible. And the last step you mentioned is one of those steps that's supposed to lower spreads and ultimately help through monetary policy filter in to all the segments and ultimately help in terms of employment and other segments of the economy.
Right. By your own admission, the health of the economy is becoming more severe, and there's a risk of additional deterioration, is what you said. So who and where does more help come from?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, we started out very well in terms of our starting point. Our economy had high growth, low unemployment, high FX reserves, and we basically made very quick and decisive steps in terms of lockdowns. We flattened the morbidity curve, and then we went out very fast. There was a lot of significant economic uptick in economic activity. But the infection rates have gone up, partly because of gatherings, etc., large gatherings. And right now, what we put in place on the health front is primarily partial lockdowns and more restrictive measures, such as restaurants, gyms, etc. And the hope is that in the next 2 weeks, we will see some kind of fruits to that, and we will see the curve are starting to flatten out again. Meanwhile, everyone, not just Israel, has to learn how to live with the coronavirus while having economic activity side to side. You are right. If at the beginning we thought this was some kind of a V-shape effect, that's going to basically end around June. Now this is more like a Nike logo that has a long tail, and part of what the government did today, which was a second major fiscal plan, was to give some kind of certainty all the way out basically to employers and to workers till June 2021. And we hope that with that, once we also add fiscal stimulus, this will help us get out of the crisis in a better shape.
Is the moral of this, don't reopen too early and do it with greater care?
I think there is a lesson here, especially don't open up carefully, have clear instructions about large gatherings. For example, we've had weddings where there were large infections, and this is one of the lessons from what happened in Israel. We believe that through the measures that we're taking now, as I said, we will be able to flatten the curve and with it come back to economic activity. I think Israel fundamentally is a very dynamic, creative, innovative economy, has a lot of tech sector in it, which primarily is not as exposed to some of the, let's say, old technology that might be reallocated once the pandemic is over. And therefore, once we are over this, I see that at least we should be in reasonable shape coming out of the crisis, assuming we can find this steady state for a while until there is a vaccine, to have strong economic activity as much as one can and the right health measures side by side.
Governor, grateful to talk to you, sir. As the pandemic continues, we will talk more about it. This is Questions Business. We're back in a moment.